our BBL Season 7 Showdown Team Builder against Isamboldium, coach of the Seattle Supersonics. If you enjoy, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new, and make sure, of course, while you do that, to hit the little notification bell to get notified when I do uploads, and comment your thoughts on the match. And with that said, let's get right into it. My opponent's team for this week is Xerneas, Landers, Jirachi, Rotomwash, Terrakion, Talonflame, Alolan Muck, Tangrowth, Druddigon, and Bouffalant. Now, in my post-draft PRs that I streamed, I personally rated this team as the best in the division, and I still do stand by that. I think that Sam did a phenomenal job drafting on not only Lando I, but Xerneas. I meant to say Xerneas, but he did a really good job of drafting on Lando I too, having phenomenal Ice Resist, for example. Xerneas obviously being able to just nuke most teams, Lando being a phenomenal Steel Killer and Poison Killer for Xerneas. While they both do hover around the same speed tier, he did a great job at getting faster Pokemon such as Talonflame, Terrakion, etc. You got some decent hazard options, though I will say that Druddigon being the second best rocker, or the second most reliable rocker in the team, I should say, isn't the best, because Lando, and Terrakion, while they are definitely really strong options that can set rocks, neither of them really want to be relegated to your rocker. So Jirachi and Druddigon are probably the primary rockers if I had to guess, though Lando and Terrakion are still capable ones. Removal is pretty strong here with Xerneas, Rotomwash, Talonflame, even especially this gen with Talonflame being able to have boots. So I thought there was a lot going for this team. In terms of the matchup, Scarf Xerneas wins on preview. I promise Scarf Xerneas wins the second Empoleon dies. If Empoleon gets predicted around once, I lose the game. That's basically what it's going to come down to here. In terms of how I'm getting around that, I have some soft checks, but they're not pretty. I'm fully anticipating a mixed Xerneas or a special Xerneas, like either fully special or mixed. I think that probably just T-Bolt plus, just Thunder plus Moonblast would be what I would run. And then I'd probably just go with Scarf, throw on like Focus Blast if I wanted to just get slightly better damage output or something. Or maybe just Rock Slide if, let's say, Moltres is the only mon left and I just want to farm for kills. Or even just Thunderbolt if I just want to make sure that I'm just hitting my electric move. But just stuff like that. There really isn't a lot that's needed this game from Xerneas. It kind of just wins on its own. So I'm fully anticipating Xerneas to just kind of sweep through my team. And we're going to try and mitigate that as much as possible. Now, I don't know how possible that will be, but I do think I have a couple good outs. First up on the team, we have Choice Spec Spectrier with Timid Nature. We are Hyper Beam, Shadow Ball, Mud Shot, and Hex with 224 speed with the Timid Nature, of course. This should help us a fair bit in general against my opponent's team. For example, we've made sure to guarantee creep Talonflame with this. I figured that way then in case if we do break the Gale Wings on this, we should be able to just pick it off with the Shadow Ball. It's really, really nice, especially when the only switch-ins to this Pokemon would be Alolan Muck and Bouffalant. And I don't really think the Bouffalant can come. I think it's a 5v6, especially against the Mega Lucario team. And Alolan Muck being the Dark type here is great, because while it is obviously neutral to Mega Lucario and like most Dark types, it is still definitely manageable. And I do feel like I have a couple good outs to Alolan Muck. If I had to pick a win con, I think it would probably be this or Weavile, but it's going to be kind of hard to pick a really good win con against my opponent's team. It's just really, really reliable, and Xerneas kind of just destroys my team. Next up, we have Empoleon. This is my Xerneas out to not getting swept by Scarf, and I do think it's a really strong out, actually. I think if I was to bank on killing Xerneas with anything, I think it's going to be this Pokemon. We have Resto Chester with this with Calm Nature, with Flash Cannon, Toxic Roar, and Rest. We're max Spidef. This is just to get the best possible rolls in Xerneas. I did check 248 Spidef, check 248 HP. I really just needed 252. There's not really a physically offensive Pokemon I would want to check with this, besides Close Combat Xerneas, which if it's Close Combat, I'm kind of fucked. However, I do think that Close Combat will not come, because unlike something like a Focus Blast or a Thunder or a Thunderbolt, while two of those moves do risk 70% accuracy, none of those three moves at all, including Moonblast as well, which I think will be the fourth move on a Scarf Xerneas, is Flame Body Contact with Moltres. And I do think that Moltres has a viable enough matchup here to, while I personally did not bring it this game, I do think that my opponent will at least respect it and not necessarily lock themselves into a close combat or a player off against my team because of stuff like Flame Body Moltres. And while it is a one and done deal, it also does help with things like Rough Skin Garchomp, for example. So I do think that there's enough here to where Special Xerneas just with Modest Nature kind of has to come. So because of that, we are just max Spidef. If my opponent does bring close combat, I'm kind of screwed, but I do at least have some soft outs to it, but it's really not going to be pretty. Next up, We have Mega Lucario with Jolly Nature with Meteor Mash, Close Combat, Bullet Punch, and Substitute. I opted for no Rock Slide on this because while I did initially have just 4 attacks, I feel like getting a sub up on something like, for example, Tangrowth or Terrakion if it's not Scarfed and we know it's not Scarfed, or Jirachi even, or Xerneas if we know it's, let's say, locked into Thunder and it probably doesn't want to click Thunder against us, or just whatever it is clicked into. Sub is really, really nice in general, especially if for some reason Bouffalant comes, or just in general gets a little muck. There are a lot of Pokemon we can definitely sub up against. And then stabs do a lot. Like even Talonflame, max HP takes like half from close combat. So that should be pretty helpful in general. Adaptability just proving why it's really, really annoying. My opponent not really having a great switch into fighting is really helpful here. Because while my opponent has dual flying, their psychic is neutral, so it's really just the dual flying and Xerneas that switch-ins. And Xerneas doesn't really want to take a Meteor Mash, and frankly, neither does Lando. Lando, between Meteor Mash and Bullet Punch, should get completely fucked. So I do feel pretty confident in this set. I think it actually will work wonders against my opponent. I would be genuinely shocked if we don't claim at least 2 kills off this Pokemon, but I will say as well that with my current draft of the team before free agents, it's a bit hard to position this, so it wouldn't be entirely out of the question, but I do think it's a bit more difficult to say the least. Next up, we have Gothitelle with Trick Ring Target. This week we have Trick, Rest, Psyshock, and Heal Bell. I'm bringing the set that I recommended to Clutch a couple years ago, Verlo and Muck on Reuniclus to handle with Gothitelle. I think it's phenomenal here personally, because not only can we trigger Ring Target onto Verlo and Muck, just spam Psyshock on it, we can also trigger Ring Target into Bouffalant if that comes to just click Shadow Ball with Spectre if for some reason that does come over Alolan Muck. I genuinely think that the two of them will not come together. I think it's one or the other. So if for some reason Bouffalant does come, this kind of just becomes a sack piece, just trigger Ring Target onto it, and then just throw it out against whatever. Heal Bell is pretty nice so I don't get Toxic spammed. I felt like that was pretty useful. We have Rest, obviously, to just keep this thing healthy. Against a couple Pokemon, I could probably just rest up and trap them. Things like Tangrowth, for example. I could pretty easily just stall out with this. So that's definitely pretty helpful on Goth. With the Fizz Def, we should be able to check things. I believe this was for Terrakion, but I'm going to be completely honest. I think it might have just been left over, and then just the 116 was the most beneficial. Because the 200 speed, I know for a fact that was for Adamant, Alolan Muck. Because Adamant, Alolan Muck, I did not want getting a free knockoff on this, because that would be pretty destructive. And especially because Offensive Alolan Muck, well, I don't think it's the greatest set here. It could definitely come, at least as a soft check to Sylveon, to not have to take a Hyper Voice at all from, like, Calm Mind variant. So I do kind of get it, but I personally don't think Offensive will come, unless it's, like, Offensive AV. I think Offensive AV would be phenomenal here, but I don't think it comes otherwise. I think it has to have some sort of really hard Spdef into it for Spectre. So my guess is AV. I think it's gonna be AV with like Gunk Shot knockoff, Ice Punch, and then probably Shadow Sneak if I had to guess. I think Shadow Sneak could be pretty good. However, it's not really the most useful thing here. It was more so just in case if for some reason or whatever it needed priority. I could totally also just see even just a second Dark move coming for when it knocks off Goth. Like Night Slash or Crunch. I forget what it gets for dark moves, but I could totally see a secondary dog option here. My guesses though is that if the AV set comes, my guesses though is that a Curse set probably comes with a Curse, Ice Punch, knockoff, Gunk Shot. I think it's actually really good against my draft personally. But yeah, regardless though, Gothitelle is definitely helpful for handling those that the Spectre can win. I feel like it's sort of my best out to my opponent's draft. So yeah, with that said, next up we have Garchomp with Rocky Helmet, Jolly Nature with Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Toxic. This is why I check the things like Talonflame, Terrakion. Speed should creep Xerneas, so it never does get off a free hit. We get, if necessary, Scout for Scarf. Rocks are really helpful here, especially if Talonflame loses its boots, hypothetically. Toxic is just really spammable here because there is no Cleric out of Xerneas. And not only that, but the only Toxic immunities are Alolan Muck and Rachi, both of which just get Earthquaked. So this Pokemon, in my opinion, is pretty good as a defensive utility option, as it didn't really need to sweep or anything, because what am I clicking Scale Shot on? The Xerneas that's going to come in and probably still be 3-hit KO'd? Hell no. I'm not going to Scale Shot on that. That'd be insane. Final on the team, though, we have Weavile. This is, as I mentioned, our other win con this week. We are Adamant Nature because I'm calling the fact that my opponent will not respect the speed tier of Talonflame, to be completely honest. So I'm going to go with Adamant and Creep Terrakion with it. With Low Kick, Triple Axle, Knockoff, and Ice Shard, I actually offensively maul my opponent's draft, as the biggest issue comes from the fact that the Xerneas kind of has to be Scarfed, and I don't really have a good switch in, because even Empoleon, as I said, if it gets predicted around once, I'm kind of fucked. So hopefully we can win this game. I'm kind of banking on Weavile Spectrier, so we'll have to see what happens. I think ideally this would be my lead against pretty much anything that my opponent could bring. Things like Landers, for example, will really hate this sort of lead because I could Triple Axle, and if it is Scarfed, that's perfectly fine because it could just U-turn on lead, and I do still Triple Axle something. Knockoff is also extremely spammable if, let's say, for example, Rotom Wash leads, or even just in general, Low Kick is great for Terrakion lead. Scouting for that Scarfer is really important in my opinion, but I do think that this or Garchomp will probably be my lead. It really just depends on what the team composition is. With that said, it's been Liv, and I will see you guys in the match. Until then, peace out, guys. And yeah, so my opponent brings, I'm going to open up a notepad, not because I can't just check on Showdown, but because it really just helps with my concentration. So in terms of a lead, no Terrakion actually, that's phenomenal. Holy shit, I need to, oh my god, I'm so glad that Terrakion is not here. Oh, the fuck, that mon was terrifying. That mon plus Xerneas, whew, very scary. With that said though, in terms of the leads, I feel like the Lando I lead is pretty obvious, if not a Rotom Wash lead. I think that either way though, I kind of want to lead off with Weavile. Actually no, Rotom Wash could be a pretty bad lead for that. But to be fair, I don't actually have a good lead for Rotom. That might have been an oversight. I'm going to lead off with, I think I'm going to lead off with Weavile, to be honest. I think Weavile will be the best case scenario. It handles things like, for example, if Tang decides for whatever reason to lead, though I don't think it will. It's mostly for Lando I though, truthfully. It's his only rocker, so maybe he just tries to lead off with Lando I for rocks, and I can triple Axle before it gets him off. Or if it's Scarf, so be it. I'll probably just Ice Shard it, to be completely honest. If it's Sash and it wants to go for rocks, so be it. Xerneas lead, great. Love that that's the lead. I love that that's the lead. I might just need to sack if I'm gonna be honest. Ugh, fuck. Let me look. Fuck, okay. I think I'm gonna go hard and Empoleon in this. Spec Xerneas, I do take a Spec Xerneas hit. And if it is really that offensive, I should be fine. I guess if it's Scarfed, it predicts the Empoleon. Fuck, that could be bad. I might need to sack just to scout for damage. Oh, that could be bad. I'm gonna go hard. Nope. I'm gonna go for triple Axle, purely for the fact that I need to scout to make sure this is not Scarf. Because if it is Scarfed, I play around it very differently. Because it could, let's say, go for a Thunder or Focus Blast here. Still do half to my Empoleon if it's modest. And then just go for leftovers. And I could very well not know that. Or it could just be a Scarf set, and I do not know that. So I need to just go for the triple Axle, and I need to hope that this is not Scarfed. That is how I need to play around this. I also could definitely get lucky if my opponent doubles, let's say, in a Rotom Wash on Empoleon. Maybe just not wanting to miss a Focus Blast or a Thunder, let's say, this early on in the match. Could definitely be bailed out by that. Goes for playoff. Okay, so this is Scarfed, this physical. That is good to know. I was more than willing to make that sack for that information. So that is perfectly fine. I'm going to go for a Toxic this turn. Playoff should not do shit to my Empoleon. So that is very important. Play rough. Adamant, because it's probably Adamant, to be honest. I can afford Adamant. Yeah, playoff is like a third, so we're perfectly fine. If it does stay in a playoff for whatever reason, I can just go for Press next turn. It's not a huge deal. We do know this is Scarf, though. That is huge, because it does handle our positioning a lot. Really glad I did not make the double there, because should my opponent have predicted that, that could have been very bad on Empoleon, so I will still stand by that play. Very much so. I could not have made that sack, I don't think, in any logical case scenario, because I could have lost 6-0. My opponent's going to go into Rotom Wash here. That is perfectly fine. We got the Toxic off on that, which is actually pretty good. I think that what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into Garchomp, because even if my opponent does go for a Volt Switch or a Will-O-Wisp or whatever my opponent wants to go for, I at least get up rocks pretty easily. So I'm just going to go into Garchomp. Volt Switch, yep, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go for... I think I'm going to go for rocks. If my opponent goes into Tang, that's fine. I can Toxic it next turn. I don't mind doing it next turn, though. If my opponent decides to go... Yeah, okay, perfect. So Tangrowth. Perfect. We could just go for that. So, Tox, and then I'm going to put Tox on this as well. We know this is knockoff. That's perfectly fine. What, it doesn't have Will-O-Wisp. At least not confirmed. Full switch. Okay. And then what was the Rotom's item? It was not revealed yet. Okay, good to know. I think that from here I might want to double into Goth, but I feel like it's a Shut Shell. I don't really want to get rid of the Ring Tar yet, because that could be very useful for trapping Muck. I think I might... I think I kind of have to go hard Goth. It's not a huge deal. I can still pressure Muck, to be fair. I still have Mega Lucario and Garchomp that should do a lot to it. I think I might be my play to go Goth. I'm going to go Goth. I'm going to go Goth this turn, and I think I might double out next turn on a knockoff into Garchomp again. Just letting this thing Toxic itself down. That could be pretty useful. Also, I can scout for Shed Shell, obviously. Just don't knock off again. Goes into Rotom Wash. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So I feel like the Volt Switch is really obvious here, and I made sure purposefully that I was slower than Rotom Wash. I did not want to creep Rotom Wash with this. Like, even a low speed Rotom Wash. This would need to be minus speed, actually. So that's definitely good for us, of course. Let's see. So yeah, so just to make sure, Rotom should hit 208. That's what it is. Okay. Perfectly fine. My guess is that it's going to Volt Switch into the Muck here. So I think I am going to go a bit aggressive with this and go for a Trick Ring target. Volt Switch, yup. Okay, bring in the muck, bring in the muck. Let's go. Let's see the muck. Come on, bring in the little muck. Talonflame, fuck! So, I mean, I get Earthquake spam now. Once Lando's gone, I get Earthquake spam. This is taking half her muck, so that's actually not a huge deal. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I might go for another trick. Because I think this is going to go for a U-turn here. This is definitely going to go for a U-turn. I don't think that Sam would have ever made that play otherwise. If he does stay in and try and maybe fish. Okay, fuck. So he did that. I'm going to go for a trick one more time. I know this is getting a bit redundant, but I can heal by next turn. It's not a huge deal. Or I can even just go for a rest. So it's Toxic on Talonflame. So it's not Will-O-Wisp most likely, which is good to know. And it does have the heavy duty boots back. Heavy duty boots. Okay, so it's Toxic Taunt. Okay, that's kind of annoying actually. Kind of wishing I just let this thing lose its boot. I think I'm gonna go hard into Empoleon. No, I'm gonna go hard into Garchomp here. I don't want Empoleon taking any chip that it doesn't need to be honest. I think it's my best play is to just go hard into Garchomp. This thing wants to U-turn, I can at least force it to take Rocky Helmet damage. Not Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin damage, which is important. Goes for Overheat. Okay, perfect. So this is special Talonflame, or at least mixed. It probably has Roost as the last move, so that probably is just mono Overheat. In terms of the switch in here, I mean, it's probably Tanger. I think I go for a Rock Slide this turn. Even if Xerneas comes in, that's perfectly fine. I can double into Empoleon now that I know it is Scarfed. So I'm going to go for a Rock Slide this turn. I think that chip is just going to be really nice. And if it does go for close combat, I can go into Spec here knowing that it is Scarfed now. And if it's going for Thunder, or whatever option that it wants to go for specially, I guess, then I can just go into Garchomp if it's electric. Or fighting is still Spectre here. So it's perfectly fine. Not really a huge deal for us. So I feel content with that. My opponent will probably switch here. My guess is Tang. But I feel like I don't really need to go for Toxic at this point in the game. Because in case my opponent does go for a Taunt, I can just kill this thing outright. Toxic on Rotom and Tang is already achieved, so that's really good. Between Rocks, Rock Slide, and Toxic Chip, Tang will still take a fair bit of damage before it doubles. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Also, the fact that my opponent doubled on the Tang turn leads me to believe that it might not be Shutshell. We don't know his item yet, to be fair, but it's leading me to believe that it might not be. Now, to be fair, Sam could just be bluffing that really hard, but I do not think it is. With that said, this Talon set also could definitely be Muscle Pass, which is very important for us. We could Muscle Pass it with whatchamacallit. Oh, that actually sucks. That sucks a lot. Because now I could legitimately just stay in and click Rock Slide, and that could die if it clicks Volt Switch or something. I think I'm just going to go for the Rock Slide and just go for the kill. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. Because that Rotom dies, that's huge for us. It's one more Mon that's out of the way that we could possibly Earthquake later on, or click Earthquake with early on, I guess, or later on in the game. I don't know why I'm saying earlier on so much. So we're going to go for Rock Slide, and my opponent's going to get the Defog off. Okay, well played. Okay. So, need to go hard Empoleon here. I'm not risking any more Pokemon. I know for a fact this is Scarf now. So I'm going to go hard Empoleon. If it's a playoff, it's perfectly fine. If it is not a playoff, I can double into either Spectre or Garchomp, guaranteed. So I'm really not that concerned there. I think that realistically, my opponent is just going to go for the playoff, just try and stack the kill here. Especially seeing as I sacked last time, I'm going to hope that that's the play that my opponent makes. Though it would obviously be a very good prediction to assume that I'm going to go Empoleon. It is my fair resist, obviously, so it would make sense. A little bit surprised by Physical Zern. I thought that Thunder plus Moonblast plus Aromatherapy plus Defog, or like really just anything, would have been making sense there. But Close Combat, Rock Slide, Aromatherapy, Playoff does the job still. It just Playoff miss, which is a lot more gambly in my opinion, just because of the fact that Playoff is just the stab you're clicking more often, whereas Focus Blast and Thunder, the team does have a lot of options around Empoleon and Moltres, so I didn't really think that was as important. But regardless, it is still a good set nonetheless. Like this set does kind of destroy my team. So looking at Xerneas clicking Playoff here, I think my play here is just to click Flash Cannon. Whatever does come in, I have good switches to it, and any Flash Cannon chip is good at this point. So I'm just gonna go for it. My opponent's never going hard Talon on this. Never going hard Talon here. Literally anything else, of course, does risk a Flash Cannon, including a Spinef drop as well at that. So Landorus is going to come in. That's perfectly fine. I do kind of need to sack here, and I think that it's not going to be this. It's obviously not going to be this. I think I'm going to sack Goth. Is what I could do. No. I think I'm going to sack Garchomp. No, I think I'm going to sack Goth, actually. I think I'm going to sack Goth. Because Goth isn't, like, now that we've lost the ring target. Well, no, we lost the ring target. No, we still have the ring target, actually. So that could be good for Muck. That could still be good for Muck. Why would I click ring target, I guess, on Muck? It's not going to matter. I'm going to sack Goth. Goth is definitely expendable here. Earth Power. Let me real quick just double check damage rolls from Landorus, making sure that it does. Okay, so if it is not Life Orb, if it is just like a Scarf set, let's say, it's like a modest Scarf set, very, very low chance to actually kill. So that is good to know. So that means that Mega Lucario should be able to come in pretty freely here and go for a. Oh, actually, no, that is not freely at all. Holy shit, Meteor Mash does nothing to that. I mean, to be fair, it is not assumed yet that we don't have Ice Punch. At the same time, though, I don't know if I could risk Mega Lucario getting chipped out that much. I think I'm going to go to Spec Share here. And I think I'm just going to click Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball should do a fair bit. Even if, let's say, that the Muck comes in here. Muck does still obviously take around like 13%, which isn't great. It's not great at all. But any chip on that is good. We can figure out items, etc. So I'm perfectly fine with that. We can just get any chip possible, go hard into Garchomp here. Probably sack to an Ice Punch if I'm being honest, and then go into Mega Lucario sub up and get a lot of damage off. So I think that's definitely our play here. If we get that sub up, actually, this is looking really nice. Mega Lucario could still definitely pull it back. It would be rough. It would be rough for sure, but we could still definitely pull it back nonetheless. So I do have some faith still. Not a lot, but I do have some faith. Spec Share could also just claim a kill here. And if Lando goes, that does make our game a lot easier. While it doesn't necessarily change a ton, it does clear out a really good Empoleon answer, actually. So that could definitely be very handy. So hopefully my opponent just sacks. Maybe they're like not AV, which if that's the case, then they could be risking modest specs, especially if they're more on the biz dev end or like offensive end. Much could do half. So this is going to take 19%. Black Sludge, let's spit F Black Sludge. To put it in perspective, 19% is like a pretty low roll for a Shadow Ball at that point, but to get even a 90% roll, this needs to be fairly spit F. This needs to at least reach 216 careful with 248 HP for Black Sludge to, for Spec Share to do that little with Shadow Ball. So with that in mind, I'm not really caring about an Ice Punch from Mug because it can't be offensive enough to actually kill Garchomp, unless it's like, it would need to get a pretty near like max roll at that point, I guess. It could, to be fair, kill with Ice Punch plus Sneak. That is 100% on the table still. However, I'm not really too worried about that, to be honest. So I'm just going to go hard Garchomp here, and I'm just going to fire off a pretty free Earthquake, I think. If Lando really does come in, so be it. Lando probably isn't going to be creeped with my set anyway. I didn't actually creep Lando with Garchomp. I disregarded it. Xerneas comes in. Fuck. Okay, that's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Very, very good double by my opponent. Shit. Okay. Xerneas, I need to figure out how much Close Combat does. Close Combat from Adamant Xerneas. That actually doesn't do a lot to Garchomp. I think what my play is going to be to go... It's going to be to go for Toxic here. I kind of do need to sack at this point. If my opponent goes for playoff, so be it. I cannot really go hard into Empoleon at this point in the game, though. Fuck. This is pretty bad. Yeah, I'm going to get the Toxic off. That could definitely be pretty important, though, with Empoleon at least. I don't... Actually, hold on. Let me double check damage real quick. Because Mega Lucario, wow, it does like no damage with Bullet Punch. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm gonna get the Toxic off. I think Toxic will be more important personally. It's definitely pretty brutal. I wish I had Weavile still around. I think it's definitely maybe a bad lead by mine, but I couldn't really risk Lando. I think I might go for an Earthquake and just hope for a crit. To be honest, I think it might be my play. I'm really thinking that Close Combat is gonna go off here. If that defense drop goes off, we'll do around half, which is pretty good damage. That damage that we'll get off on this should put it potentially in range, at least for a Bullet Punch, which will hopefully force my opponent to sack. Which if Xerneas goes down, that's huge for us. So I'm just going to go for the Earthquake here. If my opponent goes for playoff, so be it. Very good play. But there's not really much I can do about that besides, I guess, going Empoleon, but playoff could, I mean, it still did enough last time to where that could still be pretty problematic. So that is, 12% is now taken. I think I'm going to go for, let's see, so last time that Empoleon came in, I need to see. So let's see. So when Empoleon came in, I scrolled too far down. Landorus came in. Okay. So I think I might go make the double in the Spec Share right now. I don't think that Empoleon will... I don't think Xerneas will stay in right now. So I'm going to double into Spec Share. Then I'm going to double from there into Mega Lucario and get myself up. I think that's the only way I really have a chance at winning this. If I do, though, I think I'm in a good position. It just really depends on getting that double right. This is definitely not a pretty position, to say the least. But definitely is, I guess, one of the flaws of my team not having a lot of momentum. I think I may have... Oh, fuck. Okay, my opponent definitely predicted that. Fuck. I think I need to go hard in Empoleon. Fuck. Oh, that sucks. Actually, hold on. Nope, I need to go hard in Empoleon here. I need to go hard in Empoleon and make sure that Xerneas does not fucking come in. Because that could be pretty problematic. Xerneas takes, like, half from a Shadow Ball. But, like, that's... I'd need to just go hard in Empoleon. If my opponent kills, then I guess I could still at least go to Muck into a Mega Lucario. Because my opponent cannot sack this Pokemon until Spec Share goes down, which is great. So I could go for a sub, which could be pretty helpful there, actually. So yeah, I think I'm still in this, but it's not looking good. I definitely don't think that my opponent will let me just go for any sort of mud shot, just trying to cheese this thing out. How much does Fire Punch do? Fire Punch does around half to Mega Lucario, which is fine. Not a huge deal. We can't really avoid that. Empoleon comes in, Power Punch. Oh. I think I'm gonna go for a Roar here. Actually, no. I need to go for a... I think I need to go for a Rest first. Nope. I need to go for a Roar. Nope. I'm gonna go for a Rest. I'm gonna go for a Rest. Actually, I might need to sack. I'm gonna go for a Flash Cannon, actually. Flash Cannon's definitely my play there, I think. Just to get some chip on this. Power Punch, that did around 18% versus Empoleon. Power Up Punch. Okay, so this is definitely a low offensive set, to say the least. That needs at least 20 attack. Good to know. Okay. So Flash Cannon could do at least a fair bit of damage to this, actually. We could get, like, 17% off, which is enough. That is enough damage. 17% would actually be pretty good on this. I'm not gonna lie. Also, we could obviously get a Spit F drop potentially, which is good. 17 to 20 though, because that would put it in range of, I'm gonna crit Earthquake to be fair. But it would more importantly between that and Shadow Ball be enough. Between Flash Cannon, Shadow Ball, and Meteor Mash, that would be enough to at least secure another differential point. Actually no, I can't even. I need to go for Rest this turn. I have to go for a Rest, and then I need from there to go for... Okay, so it's gonna stay in perfectly fine. It goes for another Power Punch. I'm gonna go for a Roar this turn. Landers comes in perfect. Okay, that's actually not bad. I'm gonna go for a Flash Cannon here. I kind of need to just... Actually, hold on. Let me double check Spectre calcs, actually. I might make a double. Landorus... Earth Power doesn't kill. Unless it's modest. But even that's a small roll. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm gonna double into Spectre. What's the worst that can happen? This might actually work out pretty well for us. Yep. Perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna go for a Hyper Beam this turn. Because my thought process being is that if Low Muck doubles in, it needs to go for the kill. It needs to 100% go for that kill. I can kill the Landorus. Whatever comes in, I can play around that. Actually, fuck. I can't really do that. Well, actually, fuck. I might have just lost to Xerneas. I still kind of need to click Hyper Beam here. Then I need to hope that my opponent just doubles. Or maybe overestimates the value of Mega Lucario. But fuck, I did lose the game. Because I took too much damage with Empoleon. To be fair, I think I couldn't really do a lot else at that point. Like, even if I doubled into Spectre, I risked knockoff there, and then I could have just lost outright to and Muck of all things, which I was not doing that. Certainly not letting that happen. So I'm gonna sort of just hope. I'm gonna hope that my opponent maybe just chokes the double and just goes into a low Muck. Because if my opponent does just go into low Muck, okay. So if Xerneas comes in here, I think we lose. If Xerneas does not come in though, we should be fine. Even still, Empoleon could maybe take a hit. It's not gonna be pretty, but it could still take a hit, technically. So let's see. So Xerneas does come in here. Makes sense. Play rough. We could also get bailed out, of course, with a play rough miss, but I would prefer that highly on Empoleon, if anything. If it is Jolly, we can take the hit, potentially, but otherwise we need to back in a dodge. Play rough goes off, it's fine. I'm gonna go for Flash Cannon here. It's basically how I have my win concept. It's just going for Flash Cannon and hoping. Well, so we're gonna hope. We're gonna hope. I just got a kill. I got another kill, so I'll take that. Let's see, so... I lost track of kills, to be honest. I'll have to go back to this later. That's the Arceus mod's job. Sorry, Arceus mods, I couldn't help you out there. So basically, though, this game is going to come down to, I guess, if my opponent does hit their playoffs, or if my opponent gets really low rolled here. Doubles. Okay, you know what? That's perfect. That is perfect. That could actually not be better. Oh, fuck. You know what? They wanted to go for the... Oh, they wanted to cheese me out. Son of a bitch. I'm going to go for a Roar. Okay, perfect. This is what we needed, actually. I'm going to go for a Flash Cannon here. I'm going to go for Flash Cannon and hope my opponent maybe doesn't double into, like, Xerneas, hoping that I roar them into anything else to kill me. If Tangrowth is in, that's fine. I don't actually mind Tangrowth being in, to be honest, because Tangrowth does still actually take a fuck ton from close combat. It's like 30%, which isn't bad, but for, like, Bizdev tank, it's pretty good. And I guess for damage rolls, of course, Flash Cannon too, which is great. I think Alolan Muck will probably come in, which is fine. Alolan Muck just have to worry about Mega Lucario, of course, including Earthquake on it. And also, of course, the Talon can't double in hard necessarily because it has to worry about Flame Body. Not Flame Body, Rock Slide. So I feel pretty safe, I guess. Alolan Muck does come in. Okay, we get the Spin F drop. That's actually perfect. I'm gonna go for another Flash Cannon here. Beautiful. Okay, so that's now in range of a Meteor Mash. What I'm going to do, and I kind of need to bank on this. So, we know this is very Spadef. Mucka low in form. So we know this is very Spadef. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click Substitute here. If my opponent stays in and clicks Power Punch, that's fine. I only get a 3-0 win because Xerneas does come in and guarantee pick me off. If it does not go for a Power Punch and it goes for a double, I'm pretty fine here to just go for an attack next turn and play my turn based off of that. So I'm going to go for the sub. Okay, my opponent gets your Power Punch. It's fine. I'm going to close combat. I'm going to go for close combat and get my 3-0. I'm not going to risk a Meteor Mash and lose 4-0. I missed too many of those last time I used Mega Lucario in Season 3. So I'm just going to get my 3-0. Obviously, like, I've lost the game at this point unless my opponent misses, like, Overheat and Play Rough. Xerneas comes in. Yep, okay. This should be GG. Yep, okay. Even then, CC. GG. Very good game to Sam Boldium, aka Sam. Really, really good guy. Really strong battler. Probably one of the stronger players in the league. I don't know if I'd put him at the top player-wise, but he's definitely up there, so I don't really mind losing only 3-0. It's not a great matchup anyway. Mostly Xerneas was really just a bad Xerneas matchup, to be honest. Everything else I felt like I had pretty fine counterplay too. Shocked to see physical Xerneas though, to be honest. I really thought special was going to come, but physical is still really good here, obviously. I could really only dedicate and play on checking one or the other, to be fair. Obviously, again, my opponent played that pretty well. Didn't really matter, like, obviously, crit and the game did not matter at all. I 100% just died to CC there. It's a very good game to Sam. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that.